So here's a real-time example of something that I do not understand about Games Workshop. The recent Grey Knight release. I play Grey Knights. I'm enthusiastic about Grey Knights. Currently, I'm focusing on Grey Knights. And I can't get my hands on anything. It's sold out. It's done. That's it. So not only did they lose out on my money that I was going to drop, they lost out on all of my friends' money and the other people that I play with. Well, Fritz, what do you mean about that? I play 40K. I do well. I lose some games. I win some games. During the time that I'm not playing 40K, if my friends add a couple of new pieces to their army or they get some new models or they work on something, I get pumped. And I'm like, I need something to counter that. So I make secret plans all week, pick up some models, paint them. A week or two later, bam, show up on the table anonymously with my new units. So I know if I was able to upgrade my Grey Knight army with these new releases, my friends would see it. They'd get psyched. They'd have to counter it. It's kind of like this model cycle. So I'm sitting here saying, what the heck is going on with Games Workshop? Now, we're going to sidebar for a moment because this is relative for framing this next question. We're not going to get too involved into this aspect because numerous YouTubers have been talking about it, and we covered it last week on the channel, pushed up to my mailbag playlist. Games Workshop has been doing some crazy things recently. Let's just leave it at that. Looking to suppress the community, take down animators, going after YouTube channels, targeting Patreon channels, possibly looking at battle reports, aggressively controlling their IP. Okay, that's what they need to do. Take myself out as a community member. In the moment, we could make the argument, well, how does that really impact the game? Because they're still going to be putting out product, and I can't go to YouTube for my Space Marine videos, but I'll be able to go to Warhammer Plus. Okay, I mean, the community drives business to GW. It brings a lot of players in. Let's just put that all aside for the moment. The actual models of the game, I mean, this is a physical tabletop game. Everything else you could say feeds into the models and gets you playing the game. And as long as there's a source to do that, people will come into play. So that source used to be YouTube. It's no longer YouTube. It's going to be Warhammer Plus. People are still going to come in to play. But if I can't get my hands on the models, and we've seen this, Games Workshop has perfected the art of FOMO, the fear of missing out. You buy it now, you buy it immediately, or you're done. And this has been accelerated so much. It's one thing to have new releases or new box sets, and look, this is the release. Supplies will be in stock while they last, that famous statement, and they'll be produced for a little while, a couple of months, but certainly 6 months, 8 months, a year from now, I'm not going to be able to buy this particular set or piece because it's not the main model range. It's not the main model line. I understand that. Wargaming companies do that all the time. But Games Workshop has compressed that 6 to 8 months or 1 year timeline down to a day, down to a few hours. So now whenever they release something, it's immediately sold out. Immediately sold out. And it's not even, I could be wrong on this. My local Meta, the gaming stores here, they have a few copies. But it's not like they've got 30 copies on the wall that I could go pick up. They might have 1 or 2 after some pre-orders. So you really, really, really have to be on top of the pre-orders. And at this point, supporting your local store to try and secure you a copy, to try to get you a copy because they're sold out instantly online. And I find this very frustrating because with the Grey Knights, I want to play them. I want to add to it. But I think about new players, those new players who come into the game, using Grey Knights as an example, think about playing Grey Knights, pick up some models, a new release is coming out, and you know what? Maybe they can't pick it up in that exact moment. Maybe they need a week or two. Maybe they need a month. So to have a line that is essentially dead as soon as it's launched, I don't understand how that is even remotely good for the community. I don't understand how that is remotely good for long-term growth. And maybe they're not interested. Now, here's the other aspect. I have to believe that Games Workshop, using modern technology, is aware of how many units they have to print, how many they could sell, and realistically speaking, pushing those numbers based on sales, demographics, and all that data mining, how the top limit that they could sell. I understand they don't want to print up so many units that it's sitting in a warehouse forever. I mean, we don't want a repeat of Dreadfleet side note and on the record, I love Dreadfleet. I have Dreadfleet. I regularly play Dreadfleet. But that was an example of they released the Space Hulk back in the day, limited Space Hulk reprint, sold out like crazy, sold out madness. And they printed a lot of units and it sold out. Then they created Dreadfleet to kind of have the Warhammer Fantasy version of it, and it just languished. And they had all these copies everywhere just kind of hanging around. So I get it, especially with the way supply is now in space, you don't want to have anything in your warehouse. But it's gotten to the point where they just don't print enough. So knowing that, why wouldn't you print more? Or why wouldn't you expand? Or is it just enough where they say, look, we can grow each limited release by a little bit higher and higher? So, I mean, obviously I'm just throwing numbers around. If I print 1,000 units of Cursed City and that sells out in 20 minutes, now I know, okay, Grey Knight release, I'll print 2,000. Are they testing the waters just to see how much it can sell out, increasing the units with every single cycle till they hit that number? But it's just absolutely crazy. And I understand selling out. I understand limited releases. But even in the past, when they were marketing FOMO, you knew there was going to be a restock. You knew at some point they might update you, hey, restocks are on the way. We don't know when they're going to be here, but you knew there was going to be restocks. The last time I saw this, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, Blackstone Fortress, initial BFS sold out, or BSF, yes, BSF sold out. A couple of months later, it was back online. So you knew it was going to be reprinted. It was just a matter of selling out, moving units. Now, Games Workshop doesn't even do that, doesn't even attempt to do that. It's just like, hey, here it is, pre-order, here it is, limited release, buy it now, or that's it. And that, I can't see how that's good long-term for the community, especially, I might be a little bit jaded with 40K, but I'm thinking about you young bloods out there that are getting excited for this game and getting excited for 40K. And when you have these amazing kits and these amazing models that just you can't get your hands on for no good reason, what does that do for the long term of the game and how it operates? So for me, this is the biggest problem, the biggest challenge with Games Workshop and its relation to the community and long-term growth for the hobby. Get the models out there. How can you not produce them? Demand is incredible. Don't make it artificial scarcity. But at the same time, shutting down channels, policing the IP, going after Patreon. I mean, that's important too. But there are other ways. I will look at the other side. There are other ways to feed that back to the physical models. But if you don't have the physical models to sell, that's a problem I see long term for the game.